Hey guys, this is Justin at the Survivor Review. Today we'll be talking about Episode 4 of Season 11 of The X-Files, titled The Lost Art of Forehead Sweats. Sorry for getting this video out a little bit later than I normally do. Got a couple reasons for that. One of them being I normally shoot these videos really late at night, and the night the episode aired I was just really tired and had to be up early for work the next morning, so probably wasn't the best idea to stay up all night working on a video. Plus, I wanted to rewatch this episode before doing this video, which I normally don't do. I just watch the episodes and do my initial opinion. But this one, I think, deserved a rewatch, because it's a lot to take in on initial viewing, and it's not exactly what you'd expect. It's a very different kind of episode, and my initial reaction to it was very mixed and kind of confused, because I was like, I think I like it. There's elements to it that I like and elements that I didn't like, and I was like, I don't really know. So I needed to watch it again just so I can form a clearer opinion on the episode and not just spend an entire video rambling about being confused about what I thought about it. Because going into this episode, I was really looking forward to it. It's written and directed by Darin Morgan, who has done some of the most standout episodes of the show. Plus, last season's Mulder and Scully Meet the Were-Monster, which was the best episode of that season. It was just wonderful. So I was so looking forward to this one. I was like, okay, this is going to be another great one. And I don't think it's quite there as a great episode, but it's definitely one of the most unique and different and a lot to talk about when it comes to it. The plot of the episode, I think, is awesome. I love the first half of this episode, the way it started out. I was into it because it has to do with the Mandela effect. Basically, the episode opens with a great scene. Turns out to be an episode of The Twilight Zone, or basically a Twilight Zone-esque show, which is really cool. It just has this guy in this diner just talking about how there's aliens everywhere. And then he looks in the mirror and there's an alien, and the bartender ends up being an alien. Just a great way to start it all off. And then you get the actual plot, which has Mulder meeting up with this guy named Reggie, who seems to know him, even though Mulder has no recollection of ever knowing him, and says that they used to work together, and that these guys are going around erasing people's memories. And that's what they're doing with him. They're erasing people's memories of Reggie, and so nobody knows who he is, and he's trying to stop these guys, this Dr. They, from doing this. And then Mulder kind of turns it into a whole thing about the Mandela effect. Which I thought that was really cool, bringing the Mandela effect into the X-Files. It makes sense. I mean, of course that'd be something that they would discuss. So they talk about how, Mulder can't find that episode of Twilight Zone. That was his first ever Twilight Zone. It's a very important thing to him, but there's no recollection, there's no record of that episode ever existing. And there's also Scully and this Jell-O product that she used to like as a kid that everybody remembers a different kind. And there's a lot of references to the Mandela effect. Even Mulder even brings up the whole Shazam and Kazam thing, which I thought was funny. So it's kind of weird just seeing David Duchovny talking about that, just like an internet meme, and he was discussing it. So I thought that was interesting, kind of weird. So I loved all the stuff talking about the Mandela effect. When the episode began, I was into it. I was like, this is amazing. I thought it was really cool. And the best thing about these episodes, the best thing about Darin Morgan episodes, is just that, especially with this one and the one last season, David Duchovny and Gillian Anderson always seem to kind of let loose. They always seem to be having a lot more fun than they do. I'm not saying that they're phoning it in the rest of the season, but everything else is always more serious and they're always a lot more dramatic, especially Gillian Anderson. And so these episodes, they're always smiling a lot, or just they have higher energy, and I think it's because of Darin Morgan and his screenplays and probably the way he directs too. And so I love seeing that. And the opening scene with Mulder walking in a giant costume, saying that he was Sasquatch watching, he was squatching, was great. He starts telling Scully about the Bigfoot foot he found and all that stuff like that. That was a great opening. And even I like the moment though where they talk about the fact that they're planning to go on a date. They had a date plan the next day. I'm like, okay, that's a great follow-up to last week's episode. I thought that was a good little touch there. Just a quick couple lines. But I like that. It was a good follow-up to last week's episode, and it kind of shows that this is kind of a continuing story in a way. So I like that. But the episode kind of loses me a tiny bit in the middle. We kind of realize that almost the whole episode is just going to be them talking in the garage, and just Reggie telling the backstory of stuff while them just hanging out in the garage. And I'm like, okay, I don't know, I didn't really feel like we were really going anywhere. I didn't feel like a lot was really progressing. It was just them in the garage talking. I was like, the dialogue is good and the chemistry is great. All three actors have wonderful chemistry together. They could almost have a whole show together, these three guys. They work together very well. So it's that makes up for it. But I remember kind of realizing as it went on, oh, we're still in this parking garage, aren't we? okay, and then they finally leave and other stuff happens. But that's where I was kind of losing it a little bit, and it starts like going on these whole tangents about this guy named Dr. They, who, you know, took away his memory and stuff like that, and it started to get a little weirder, but I kind of appreciate it more in the long run. Just when I was initially watching it, I was like, okay, I'm going to see a cool, unique episode on the Mandela effect, and then it turns into a doctor taking away people's memory, and I'm like, okay. But I like it more on rewatch, knowing what to expect. I like that a lot. There's a lot of great funny moments in there. I love the scene where Reggie is talking about the alien who he saw while he was working in Grenada, and he's just like, I still remember those alien screams to this day. And it comes back to the alien's just like, oh no, oh. It was hilarious. That was great when he reveals that he created the X-Files. And he was the third member of the X-Files. And then we cut to clips from the original run of the show, from some of the most classic episodes of the show, just with Reggie put in there. Some of those lines in there didn't work. I thought, like the line when they see Victor Toombs walk by and Reggie just goes, ooh, that guy's freaky. I was like, it's kind of dumb. But my favorite one out of there, though, is when they're in the cat episode, and Reggie just goes, guys, if this is going to be Killer Cat, I'm going to be very disappointed. Like, that line was the best. But it was fun seeing him, like, superimposed in these, like, other episodes. And I thought that was kind of a fun idea. It was a fun concept. Then you get to the scene where Mulder actually meets up with Dr. They, and you're like, okay, here we go. Things are going to get revealed. You're going to find out if this really is about taking away people's memories, or if it is about the Mandela effect. And the scene kind of doesn't really explain a whole lot. It kind of just goes into circles. Again, that's why, like, on my initial viewing, I was kind of disappointed. I'm like, oh, that's all we got from that scene? But then on rewatch, I'm like, okay, that's actually a really interesting conversation they have. Because basically, like, Dr. They says, oh yeah, that's what I've been doing. I don't really know if that's true or not, if that's what's really going on. But then he talks about how everybody today believes what they want to believe. You know, there's no real truth, because everybody has their own truth. Like, I like the line where he's doing, like, the shame sign, and he's just like, people these days don't know what that is. If they get in trouble for something, they just say, oh, that was taken out of context. I'm like, yeah, that's kind of true. That's how a lot of stuff is today. Like, it was a really interesting conversation about it. Like, yeah, sure, we didn't really get, like, a whole reveal of, like, what the plot is or what's really going on. But, like, I really like that conversation. It's really unique. And basically, it's just them going in circles saying, like, oh, yeah, I created fake truths. Is it really true? I don't know. Could be. That's what that whole scene is really about. But it fits, like, it really works. And even just, like, him telling Mulder, like, oh yeah, your time is up. Well, like, you know, your whole conspiracy thing is kind of useless now because conspiracies don't matter. It's just whatever you want to believe. And I was like, oh, that's really unique. I wasn't too big on a lot of the Trump references in this episode. I mentioned that in a couple of the other videos ago, that just, like, I'm not too big when they keep referencing Trump because it just, like, I don't know, it just really outdates the show and it's kind of trying too hard. It doesn't really work too much for me. But I like that scene between Mulder and Dr. They. Initially, I didn't, because when I initially saw it, I was like, okay, we're going to find out what this plot is about, and then you really don't. And then you get the ending scene where you find out that really Reggie was just insane. He's just from a mental hospital. He's just been breaking out this whole time, and he's just making up these stories about false memories. And it's like, okay, that makes sense now. I guess the story kind of makes sense, in a way. I get it, I guess. And then he gets hauled off, and you get the funny line where Skinner shows up, and Skinner just walks by, looks like the ambulance or whatever taking him off, and just goes, what are they doing with Reggie? And Mulder's going, which was like, what? And that's a great way to kind of describe this episode. It's just, what? Like, what's real and what's not? Like, I like the way it plays with memory, and I like the idea of it. I actually really like the final scene, where they make the Jell-O that Scully loves from her childhood, and they make it in the mold of the Bigfoot foot that Mulder found. And, like, they sit down and they go to eat. I still love that little, like, smile that Gillian Anderson gives when she's, like, all ready to eat it. And then she stops and just goes, like, I want to remember it the way it was. And then that's kind of how the episode ends. It's just a great line. It kind of just makes you think a lot about, like, the show and just, like, your own memories and stuff. It makes you really think about that stuff, and I like that line a lot. I thought that was a great moment to end on. I think it was a great, wonderful moment. This episode is kind of weird because, you know, a lot of people are, you know, speculating that this is going to be the final season. I mean, probably is because Gillian Anderson says she's done. So this is probably going to be the last season of The X-Files. So it's really weird that there's a lot of moments in this episode that kind of play off as, like, they're a play on that, of this being, like, the end of the show. Seeing that you get the scene where where Reggie tells them about their last case, where they found the truth to everything. You know, they confront this alien who comes down and talks to them. And basically, again, I wasn't big when he said they're going to build a wall. But that's what he says. That's what the alien says. It's like, But he says, we're going to build a wall to get away from you humans because we don't like you, basically. And then he hands him a book of all the answers. And Mulder's just like, oh, so that's the truth? Like, there's been aliens this whole time, but they just don't like us? And then Scully's, well, it's okay. We still have the X-Files. And he's like, no, this is everything. He looks over and, oh my god, there's the Sasquatch. There's the truth about Bigfoot. And I love Mulder's reaction where he just looks at this guy and goes, no! And then falls on the ground and it's like his feet are kicking up and down. And then Reggie goes like, just have to face the facts. This is the end of the X-Files. And when he said that, I'm like, oh geez, it's kind of weird because this is probably the last season of the X-Files. And he says that in the final season. It's like, did they know? I don't know, it seemed really weird and kind of like, oh man, wow, it's kind of hit. You're like, oh, this is the end, huh? This episode just had a lot of great visual moments and they're just unique and just really funny and great. Like the beginning where Mulder talks about his first time watching the Twilight Zone episode. And it flashes back and he's a little kid, but he has the adult Mulder's head on it. And I'm like, what? That's ridiculous. I love it. I love that image. It's really surreal and bizarre. And I also love the cubicle montage with Reggie and his jobs when Scully actually reveals what he actually did with his life. And instead of actually showing him in all his jobs, it shows it in a cubicle. Like, every time it cuts to a new job, there's a new sign on the wall and he's doing something else, but he's still in that cubicle. Like, when he was working for, like, the CIA, you see him waterboarding a dude and they're just standing in the cubicle, just pouring the water on his face. Like, an employee walks by and goes, like, I love that montage. It's such a unique way of showing, like, all the jobs this guy has had over the past few years in a way that's something I wouldn't have even thought of doing. Like, it's so unique. I love that. I love a lot of great visual moments in this episode that really make it stand out from the rest. And really good attention to detail on a lot of stuff that, I don't know, like, overall, I really like this one. I'll go with that. I know this episode's still kind of mixed. Even though I watched the episode again to avoid this, the video's still kind of mixed on my opinion on it. Because I did feel that the middle half was kind of weak, seeing that it was just them standing in a garage talking the whole time. And like started out as one thing with the Mandela effect and kind of like turned into something else that I wasn't as big on. Like I love the opening when they're discussing the Mandela effect. I love the ending where like Mulder finds out that like the Twilight Zone episode that doesn't exist actually doesn't. It was just an episode of a knockoff show that he watched as a kid. It's definitely like the best of the new season. Even with my mixed opinions on it, it's still the best because it's the most unique and cleverly written and definitely something that feels relevant today with like the Mandela effect. Of course, like I said, there's a few Trump references in here, but those aside, like it feels like it's actually relevant without trying too hard to talk about like Trump or terrorism or ISIS, but by doing something that's in the public like mindset of now. But with the Mandela effect, was able to actually make X-Files feel relevant without feeling like it's trying too hard to be relevant. And I thought that was really cool. I don't know, I really like this one. Again, kind of lost me in the middle, but on rewatch, I've come to appreciate it a lot, and I love the ideas in it. I love them discussing like time and memory, and it's really interesting. I thought this episode's really interesting. Really funny, too. Oh my god, this episode's hilarious. Cleverly written, witty. Like, I would laugh my ass off a lot in this episode. So another unique episode from Darin Morgan. I don't know if I like this as much as Mulder and Scully Meet the Were-Monster. That episode's a lot more simple. This one is a lot more ambitious. Like, there's a lot more themes, a lot more ideas with this episode compared to that one. That one's more of a straightforward, just funny storyline and funny plot. I think I like that one a little bit more. But this one is definitely one of the most unique episodes of the show in general, out of its entire run. I wouldn't call it one of the best, but it is really interesting and different. Even with the faults of Season 10 and Season 11, this episode, accompanied with Mulder and Scully Meet the Were-Monster, are the two episodes that just make you happy that they did these revival seasons in the first place. It makes it all worth it. Even with these issues that the seasons have as wholes, these episodes are just so unique and so interesting and so fun, and just a return to form when it comes to X-Files, even through the flaws of them, even through the flaws with this one, that just makes it worth it.
Maybe it's one of those other shows, like Outer Limits. Or...
Confuse the Twilight Zone with the Outer Limits? Do you even know me?
So that's about all I have to say about episode 4, and until next time, I'll talk to you guys later.